All right, Georgia and the Cats getting ready to roll here at Commonwealth Stadium, now known as Kroger Field, in the very near future. Saturday night kickoff on ABC, Georgia's first prime time, and they are listed as a massive favorite to win this game. And it's I'm gonna put it on the screen, but it's kind of amazing to see this line. To be honest with you, Georgia is a 24.5 point favorite to beat Kentucky, and I have to say, Georgia under Kirby Smart, Georgia's never lost as a 20 point favorite. I'm not sure they ever did with as Mark Richt being the head coach either. I'll go back and look. But this is a tremendous line. I mean, I've talked a lot this summer, and I guess we're getting into the fall. I was running today, and it definitely is not the summer anymore, unfortunately. But Kentucky, you could see from the first game, Kentucky was not what they should be or what it is. And when you're someone like me or Kirby too, when you've been around the block as long as we have, and you've seen, you've gone up to Commonwealth, you've seen Georgia play up there, or in his case, a lot of times Alabama. It's hard to play up there. I just can't legitimately say that it's going to be hard to play at Commonwealth this year. It may be a fight, but I don't know. Here's what Kirby had to say after the game. He said, after the Tennessee Tech game, he said, I don't think we've been up there when it wasn't just a battle. He said, I can't think of a time where I've ever been to that stadium, and he's talking about Alabama too, I guess, a time where I've ever been to that stadium and played a game, and that was like, well, that was easy. It's never easy up there, never. It's never easy on the road in the SEC at all. I don't know if there's people truly appreciate and respect a win on the road at Kentucky, how hard it is. They're well coached, they're physical, they do a great job, etc. I mean, I just want to touch about this, and I'll talk about this a lot, and this is where Kirby's frame of reference is right now. He redshirted in 94. So they went up there in 96 and lost. They went up there in 98 and won on the last play of the game. Kentucky goofed up a field goal attempt, a long one from Hal Mumme and company. As the head coach for Georgia in 16, they kicked the field goal to win it on the last play of the game. 18, now look, the 18 game was, I thought, pretty one-sided towards Georgia, but that game was for the SEC East Championship, and it was a knockout fight. Kentucky got knocked out. In 2020, that was an ugly game, just period. And, Georgia did not play well that day. If you remember that moment in time, I do. I was there. They beat Kentucky 14-3. They looked bad. This was the week after losing to Alabama. They looked very lost on offense. And, 2 games later, JT Daniels was starting, not Stetson Bennett. And in 2022, when Georgia went up there, that was a super ugly game because of weather. Georgia won that game 16-6. I don't anticipate any of those. If I'm, I don't bet, but Georgia, Kentucky is not in the same universe as Georgia right now. Like, my trepidation before the Clemson game was I'd not seen either team play. I don't like those situations at all. And, so that was my hesitation with the Clemson game, I don't have hesitation about this. You're talking about a team in Kentucky that just has not played well lately. And I don't think 24.5 is too much to ask, frankly. And I mean, I'm going to check to see if that line was earlier today, but that line was like 18 before Kentucky lost to South Carolina. Just got drilled by South Carolina. And that's another bad sign. I mean, they had 44 yards passing. They didn't even have 200 yards against South Carolina. What are we talking about right now? There's just really nothing to discuss at all. You can go check out our buddies at Autograph. Now, what is Autograph? It is a platform where you can get everything. I'm trying to get it on the screen here. I'm having a hard time. You get everything at once. You want to listen to these podcasts from everybody else? Hey, that's not a problem at all. Go there. Listen. That's all good. But it's got all of the .coms are on here. And you can just, 24/7. Georgia's official Twitter is on here. There's a slew of things that you can, and it's all in one fell swoop. So check out Autograph today. Use the code UGA to give me a little bit of credit for sending you on over there. But I mean, yeah, you see from their official, Georgia's official, went 498, 498 total yards of offense. Very good. 332 throwing it. That's a very impressive day for Georgia. But I mean, Kentucky, I just don't see it, man. I mean, yeah, it's still 24.5. The money line is huge. 45.5 for the over-under. That's lower than the Clemson game. I mean, I don't know if Kentucky's going to score. We've seen this Georgia defense play 8 quarters. They've allowed 6 points. And 6 of the 8 quarters, they've not allowed any points. And Clemson just scored 66 points last night. So, obviously I tell this a lot of time. My wife's a big Clemson fan. She was at the game last night, and she's like, "What? Why couldn't Clemson do this last week?" Well, they weren't playing Georgia. It was A. I would say that was A, B, and C. So that's a lot of what was happening to Clemson. They played better last night too. Clemson played pretty well against Appalachian State. I don't know if Appalachian State is what they have been in the past. I don't know, but they took a pretty big whipping on that deal. So there's some other games out here. Typically I'm just looking at the spreads for the first time. There's some other games out here that are just like super curious to me. And by the way, we got a great Friday night game, Arizona and Kansas State, both Big 12 schools, but this is not a Big 12 conference game. I'm not sure how that works. K-State hosting Arizona. Carolina is a 7.5 point favorite. Underdog at Williams-Brice to LSU. Just continuing to look. I don't know why Oklahoma State is playing at Tulsa. That makes no sense to me. Florida State's only a 5.5 point favorite over Memphis. A 15.5 for Alabama to cover at Wisconsin. I would not be comfortable betting on Alabama to cover right now. They may do it like they did last night. I guess they covered last night. That was ugly. They look bad. The defense looks fine. The offense is not there yet. Boston College, Missouri is a SEC network, if I'm not mistaken, 12:45 game. That's one of 2 ranked versus ranked games this weekend, and it's on the SEC network. So congratulations to whoever calling that game at 12:45, 11:45 local. Hey, Boston College, that'll be great fun traveling over there for that debacle. Washington State. Washington is UW is a 4.5 point favorite. Texas A&M is only a 3.5 point favorite over the Gators. Let me tell you something. Florida's got a real shot here to resurrect this season. Okay, it's basically all on the line this weekend at the Swamp, and you're at 3.5. And I mean, you should be able to trip somebody up at 3.5 on your home field. Notre Dame 11.5. They're dead. I just looking more and more. I would be careful. I was Oklahoma with Tulane. I'd be careful if I was Oklahoma with Tulane. Utah State, that's a fun rivalry. It's a one-sided one. Ole Miss going to Wake Forest. I can't imagine that would be a competitive game. Vanderbilt is a 9.5 point favorite. In Atlanta on the road, Del McGee and Georgia State, that's going to be curious. I mean, what's Georgia State? I mean, you're only not even a double-digit dog at home. Colorado's a 7.5 point favorite over Colorado State. I don't trust Colorado at all. That thing can come off the wheels at any moment. Auburn 27.5 over New Mexico. I mean, whatever. Auburn's a train wreck. 47.5 Tennessee over Kent State. Kent is not a state unless it's Kentucky, which is, a 24.5 point dog to these dogs. I don't know, y'all. I mean, this is every weekend. It doesn't seem like there's great games, and then you turn around and like Oregon struggling, Michigan getting just bullied by Texas. Texas clearly is someone to pay attention to this season. I mean, that there's no doubt about that. That's not something that's new. I don't think. Let me just see real quick here if they have a line on this. They don't. Would that be under futures perhaps? I don't quickly see it here, but yeah. I mean, I thought Texas really looked good. Quinn Ewers now the betting favorite to win the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel is just falling like a rock, just like Oregon's, just the way they look. Georgia's still a pretty heavy favorite to win national championship at plus 270. Ohio State's crept up a little bit, but I want to see Georgia go out and do what they did this weekend, which is handle business. I mean, I'm going to take Georgia to win and cover 24.5. I don't, they'll probably make me sweat a little bit. I don't have a problem with that at all. I do not think that this game, I think it could be something like 47-10, 35-3. Kentucky's not scoring on these guys. And, when you got South Carolina beating your brain in, and really what has become a real bitter personal thing between those two programs, I don't know. Kentucky loses too many games that they're a little bit like NC State. Like, there's moments where they can be good, but then they just get their brains kicked in sometimes. You're like, what is going on here, Kentucky's got, now, the caveat I will say is, I've been to Commonwealth enough. I know what that place can be like. It can be a snake nest, okay? You don't want to step in the wrong place. You don't want to, get down, 7 or something, at the start of the game. I anticipate, my suspicion is that Kentucky will have a hard time stopping Georgia, slowing them down. If you're letting Carolina, I think with a backup quarterback, but just not a great quarterback anyway, score 30 on you and just, bully you, man. We're just going to have to see. You never know from one week to the next, but you have a pretty good idea. And, getting beat up like that, man, that's not going to work. Nothing about that was good. And there's a red and black train coming right at the Commonwealth. And you I just don't have a lot of hope for Kentucky. Now, they did run for 139 yards. That's a lot. But Brock, I don't know how many times he was sacked in this game. He ran it 9 times for negative 29 yards. His long of the day was 4. So that's not Brock Vandagriff football. He was 3 of 10 for 30 yards with an interception. The backup comes in. He throws a pick. That can't. I think Robbie Ashford came in and played a lot of that, or some of that game at least. I'm thinking of something else maybe. But I just glimpsed at Carolina the whole time, and I don't know. You cannot have these kinds of results. Here's Mark Stoops, the Kentucky coach, after the game. He said, "We've been beaten pretty badly by some really good football teams." He's talking about Georgia there. But I felt like our team always fought back. Today, it didn't look like we were a very well-coached team, and it didn't look like a team that really wanted to respond. That is not good with Georgia coming to town. I'll see you on the newsletter. Thanks for watching.